Good Sunday afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here with an urgent weather forecast. In this update, latest global computer models continue to indicate a very serious snowstorm developing Monday night, lasting all the way into early Thursday morning for the mid-Atlantic. And then, latest global computer models continue to indicate a historic, very serious Arctic outbreak developing tonight all the way through Thursday and Friday, with wind chill values ranging from -30 to -70 degrees. So with that being said, here's a look at the very latest GFS model, or known as the American model, the Global Forecasting System. And what we have this afternoon is a very big, serious winter storm developing across the Northeast. This is only one in a couple that we're going to be seeing this week. Heavy snowfall, strong winds, high wind warnings. Mount Washington, by the way, up there in Vermont, could have wind gusts over 150 miles an hour in the next 24 to 36 hours. Goes to show you how windy this system is actually going to be. Some ice as well as some sleet conditions with this winter storm. Now, that's not the only storm that we're concerned about right now. There's going to be another system that's going to be developing out of the Pacific Northwest tonight, and it's going to rapidly move into the high plains as we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening. As this does so, we are going to increase some moisture. The colder air is going to come in out of the north. We're going to bring in warmer air out of the south, and the ending result will be a pretty serious winter storm that develops over Nebraska, over Kansas, into Missouri, northern portion there of Oklahoma. And this would be for Tuesday morning. So for your morning commute, it's not only going to be extremely cold up here in the high plains, but we're looking at a little bit of snowfall. But it isn't really until we get into Tuesday afternoon for your evening commute here on the 18th of February when we are looking at some very heavy snowfall rates, especially over central Missouri, where we have the best chances of convective snow showers, including for most of Nebraska, as well as Kansas, into northern Oklahoma, where we have some of that heavier snowfall moving from west to east, and we have some heavier rain showers down here to the south. But because of the lack of southerly flow here, we're not really looking at a big risk for severe weather initially with this. And that's going to actually wait until we get into Wednesday morning for your morning commute, when we could be looking at some marginal to slight risk for severe weather, especially along the Gulf Coast here of Louisiana into Mississippi and Alabama, but not extending as far north at all like the last system. But nonetheless, we're looking at some pretty decent snowfall rates here over Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri. Yeah, this is a pretty impactful system by all means. We have another system impacting Washington with this Arctic high in between. We'll get to more on that in a little bit in this video. And then as we go into Wednesday afternoon for your evening commute here, yeah, we're looking at some decent snowfall across Maryland, Delaware, as well as if you are in West Virginia, if you're in Virginia. Now, the models have been kind of going back and forth on how this all evolves. Some models have been really bullish at showing maybe a couple of feet of snow, whereas other models have been showing only about a foot or less of snowfall. And therefore, we're going to be using the blend of the national blend here on showing you what is most likely going to happen. All right, instead of just using one individual model. This makes my videos more accurate, more reliable. And you can see there that snowfall continuing into Wednesday afternoon. Then by Thursday morning for your morning commute, yes, this is going to be mattering a whole lot. How close does this get to the coast for the New England coast for Thursday? That's going to, again, be very iffy. If this gets a lot closer, I-95 will get a lot more snowfall and stronger winds. But if this is far enough offshore, you might not see much snow at all. So there again is a room or a realm of possibility here that does get a lot closer to the coast, and then that moves further offshore. Now, before we get to looking at your European model, if we look at the last couple of runs from the GFS, you can see that this was a little further north. And if we look at the last run, it's a little further south. We could see this get tweaked a little bit more, goes a little further north or south. But right now, it looks like it has trended south. But right now, it looks like Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina will get some big time impacts out of this one. Now, the European model, again, looking at the forecast for this afternoon on the Euro, showing a big winter storm for the Northeast, big time ice as well. With those strong winds, that pressure really drops quickly. And then on comes the second storm here. This one develops very quickly. Nice Arctic high to the north, so there's a lot of colder air that is going to be dumping southward from that Arctic high. Good snow here over Missouri, over Arkansas. Good snow accumulations over Oklahoma and the western or eastern half of Kansas. And anything in between, yes, there's going to be a little minor ice storm happening over portions there of Arkansas, northern Louisiana. And on this model, we don't get as much severe weather with this because the cold side is going to be dumping across much of the deep south here, with the warm side mainly right off the coast of the United States. And then this gets into the Northeast, actually the Mid-Atlantic, not the Northeast, close enough. Big time ice here. This is for your Wednesday evening commute. Big ice storm perhaps, and a big snowstorm here on the Euro, showing some decent accumulation there for Maryland, for Delaware, for Norfolk in Virginia. So maybe some power outages with that one. And then that gets a little bit closer than what the GFS shows. The Euro does have a good amount of snowfall along the I-95 corridor if you are in New Jersey, Long Island, Nantucket, Rhode Island, yeah, getting some good snow out of this one, and then that moves offshore by Friday. Now, because there is a little bit of uncertainty on the exact snowfall totals, depending on what model run you use, we are using the national blend of models. This is what the National Weather Service actually uses because this is the more reliable one. This is more accurate because it blends all of the models together and makes an average. So right now, most of the models indicate that there is going to be anywhere between 6 to 12 inches of snowfall in central southern Missouri. Southern Illinois will likely see about 6 to 10 inches of snow. If you're in central eastern Kansas, 6 to maybe 10 inches of snow is expected. Now for the mid-Atlantic, because of that reinforcement, you're looking at about 6 to 12 inches of snowfall in those given areas, with most of Kentucky looking at about 3 to 6 inches of snowfall with this winter storm. Now, some of the Great Lakes are likely to see at least about 6 to 12 inches of snowfall because the lake effect snow that develops behind this big system that's coming through and this cold Arctic air that comes in out of the north. Now, how much ice could you see with the first and second storm? We're going to kind of combine that with this video. Well, the current system that's going through right now, you're looking at an additional 0.05 of an inch to maybe about 1/10 of an inch, maybe even 2/10 of an inch in some areas, such as Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as Massachusetts. Could get up to 2/10 of an inch of ice with this winter storm, the current one that's moving through the Northeast as we speak. And then, of course, the second winter storm that comes across the deep south into the mid-Atlantic, you're looking at anywhere between about a glaze all the way up to about 1/10 of an inch of ice, especially in areas like the Carolinas here. You're looking at up to about 2/10 of an inch, maybe even 1/4 of an inch of ice, and this would run all the way through Thursday. So there is a risk here for some power outages with the amount of ice that is expected, let alone mainly for the Carolinas. We will see some travel disruptions, though, over across Arkansas and Oklahoma because we are expecting at least 0.05 of an inch or less of ice, and 0.05 of an inch doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that will lead to some travel problems on the roadways. Not much in the way of power outages because that's not a whole lot when you think about it, but it will cause problems to road and air travel. Rainfall totals for the deep south, mainly looking at anywhere between about 1/2 an inch all the way up to about 1 inch, maybe up to about 1.5 inches of rainfall for southern Georgia, southern Alabama, southern Mississippi into western Florida. There could get around about 1.5 inches to 2 inches almost. And then where it doesn't snow, where it's just rainfall, you're looking at anywhere between about 1/4 of an inch to maybe about 1/2 an inch with this system. Because of this, the winter storm severity index is at moderate to major levels here, all the way from Kansas into northwestern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, into northwestern Tennessee, western Kentucky, southwestern tip there of Indiana, and southern Illinois under a moderate to major risk for winter weather impacts. If that's heavy snowfall, which most likely it's going to be snow here, but for the mid portion of this winter storm, like in central Arkansas, central portion there of Oklahoma, you're looking at minor to moderate impacts due to the ice accumulations. And then, of course, with the ongoing current winter storm for the Northeast, you are looking at moderate to major impacts due to some lake effect snow over Watertown, New York, and of course, northernmost Maine under a major risk for heavy snow and blizzard conditions, perhaps. And then the Intermountain West here of the Pacific Northwest, that is the Cascades, you're looking at major impacts through the high portion there of the mountain range, including for northern Idaho and portions of Montana. Now that we talked about the current winter storm, including the second winter storm that is coming through the middle of this work week, it's a good idea that we focus in on how cold these Arctic temperatures are going to get. This is going to be making national headlines. It already is. I've seen it all over Twitter. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it on national news. This is very serious, folks. This could kill people because we're looking at wind chill values -50, -70 degrees in the extreme cold warning. And we got extreme cold watches down here into the deep south here, such as Texas, the southern high plains, I should say, instead of the deep south, but that could be included soon for Louisiana in days to come. But my gosh, a huge area here, a huge population under extreme cold watches, extreme cold warnings, cold weather advisories right in here. Those could get upgraded eventually to extreme cold watches in later updates. So this is very serious. And then, of course, you got storm warnings, you got high wind warnings, and even a blizzard warning here for portions of West Virginia, portions of Maryland, including for southernmost a few counties there of Pennsylvania with high wind warnings surrounding that. So very active weather pattern is in progress. So now, when it comes to those temperatures, this is pretty concerning. And this is from the National Weather Service, folks. This is not a one individual model. This is not hype. This is not fear mongering. This is literally concerning from the National Weather Service. So let's take a look here for your Monday morning temperatures. This is not wind chills, by the way. These are actual air temperatures. We will be looking at the wind chill factor here in just a little bit. So for Monday morning, we're looking at temperatures -1 all the way down to -31, -35 degrees up here in the Dakotas. That is very serious. Wind chill values here are going to even be far more serious than what these actual air temperatures are going to be. Temperatures down here in the deep south, not as significant for now, but it is going to be cold nonetheless. With overnight temperatures there for your Monday morning, bundle up buttercups, 30 degrees, all the way as cold to about 20 degrees for your Monday morning. As we go throughout the daytime hours, nice warming will shape up here. So after starting off with 30s, you're going to warm up into the mid to upper 50s down here for the deep south, but not so much up here across the northern tier. Going to stay below zero. Only warming up to -14, -10, -8. We got a -2 down here in southeastern Minnesota. And let's move this forward. Let's go all the way into Tuesday morning. It's going to even be colder for some locations. We got a -34, -32 up here in central North Dakota. And it's hard to see, but even way up here on the border of Canada and the U.S., maybe as cold as -40 degrees. -42 I saw from the National Weather Service. That's your air temperature. And then look at this. Lots of single digits, negative temperatures perhaps for the Northeast, for the Great Lakes. This is only going to escalate as we go into Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday. Look at this. Just not going to warm up at all very much. -9, -8. -1, and then it really settles in here. This is for Wednesday morning for your morning commute. That colder air really shoots southward again as we get that second system moves through. That's going to allow this colder air to get pushed southward, actually. So it's kind of limited mainly up here in the higher latitudes, but once that second system comes in, this colder air is going to be on the loose. And when it breaks from its chain, it's going to be far serious. Look at this. I mean, single digits all the way down into central Texas, all the way into portions of the Ozarks, into the mid-Atlantic. Yeah, this is pretty unfortunate for the huge population, including the Dakotas here, sitting at -31 for Wednesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, only warming up a little bit here, but still look at this. 0 degrees, single digits, -3, -5 degrees up here in the Dakotas. Okay, this is again during the day, daytime highs, and then overnight lows. Not as cold up here in the Dakotas, but look how much colder it gets. Even further south here, we got teens for your morning hours for Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. For Denver, Colorado, single digits, maybe even some negative temperatures out there in the rural spots. This is serious. And let's go into Thursday afternoon here, single digits. And then really it takes full swing as we go into Friday morning here, where much of the population will see temperatures in the single digits, as cold as -18, -19 degrees. But it's not until we get into the weekend when the colder Arctic air will finally break and some moderation of the temperatures will take place as this colder air moves out across the east and then retracts northward again. But yeah, it's going to be a long week ahead with these very cold temperatures. Now we looked at your actual air temperature, folks, but how cold will it actually feel out there with this extreme record-breaking Arctic air mass, an Arctic outbreak that is, coming out of Canada? Well, it's looking pretty dangerous, all right? The National Weather Service even said it, and now the Canadian model is even indicating this. These are your wind chill values for Monday morning, folks. This is pretty dang serious. You got -48, -50 degrees in central Montana. In North Dakota, let's zoom in on this so you all can see this. -55, -60 degrees. This continues to be a really big problem. Look at this. Even colder as we get into Tuesday morning. Even in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, some areas here might feel like -65, if not even, look at this, a -67 degrees here. I know it's hard to see there, but I'm showing you all it right now. -67 degrees. That is very dangerous. And when you round up that 67, it becomes -70. So we could have peak wind chill values that are as cold as -70 out there for Tuesday morning. And this continues to be a threat as we go into Wednesday morning. Look at this. Much of the U.S. here looking at some dangerously cold wind chills. Look at this. -10 degrees in central Texas. Yeah, central Texas, -10 it might feel like out there. And this continues to be a really big concern as we go into Thursday morning. These wind chill values, -40, -50 degrees. Oh man, dude, I'm not lying when I say this. I'm not hyping this up. This is truly dangerous. I would not be surprised if we get fatalities out of this because of how cold it's going to be. Because wind chill values, -50 to -70 degrees, is cold enough to where you could get frostbite in as little as 1 to 5 minutes. And I did say that. 60 seconds, you spend your time out there without protective clothing, you get frostbite. You could die in this in as little as 30 minutes if actions are not taken seriously. All right, and then this continues to be a threat into Friday morning with those wind chill values that are still pretty chilly, -30 to -40 degrees up there in the high plains. And it's not really going to get any better here. Even through maybe Saturday and Sunday here, we could see some very cold wind chill values here of -8, -10 degrees in some of the Great Lakes regions. And hopefully by the time we get into the following week, the last week of February here, it looks like temperatures will moderate a whole lot where our wind chill values come way up. Now, just how rare is this Arctic outbreak? Well, let's find out by looking at our temperature anomaly forecast. So blue colors, purple colors, pink colors indicate temperatures below average. Orange and red colors indicate temperatures above average. So this is based on climatology, the departure from normal. And I'll tell you what, this is pretty serious. Look how cold it gets. Departures from normal. 40 to 50 degrees below average as we go into Tuesday morning, especially up here in the Dakotas, where temperatures could be as much as 60 degrees below average. Now, of course, there's a negative 57 here, but if we do our readout cursor, there's a negative 58, there's a negative 59 there. It's the coldest I could find things. Oh, there's a negative 60 on the border of US and Canada there. So that is pretty dangerous. And then this continues to be a thing as we go into Wednesday morning. Look at this, 60 degrees below average. That's why we're calling this historic. Most likely, we are going to see all-time record low temperatures up here in Montana and the Dakotas for Wednesday morning and even for Thursday morning because of how cold these temperatures are going to be. And look at this. This overspreads much of the U.S. here. Okay, for Texas, for the eastern seaboard, it's just going to be really cold here all the way throughout Sunday into even Monday. It's not until we get into early next week when those temperature anomalies will become much better. Big warm up, a big thaw is coming for a lot of locations. And now, look at this. For Monday next week, temperatures are going to be 30 to 40 degrees above average in the Dakotas instead of 60 to almost 70 degrees below average this week. But anyways, if you found this video really helpful, detailed, and informative, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell notification icon, slap this video a huge thumbs up, folks. You guys are awesome. Let's get this to as many likes as we can possible. Let's hit 1,000 likes if possible. And also share this video with their family and friends on social media. We've got to get this out to a wide audience, folks, because we are looking at some deadly Arctic air. We're looking at a serious snowstorm. By all means, I really hope that you all are going to share this with their family and friends because this is looking serious. And also leave a comment in the section below this video. Until next time, I'll be back with you more tomorrow morning, possible. If not, definitely tomorrow afternoon with another serious update on this Arctic air and winter storm.